The reality we all experience is far richer than that. And insisting on maximum analytic thinking actually takes us further from full.
Look at Dillahunty's face. He's like, uh, where are the scientific studies? Where are the telescope images and the scans from the microscopes? I'm not hearing any science here. That's what's going through his head at this moment.
fully seeing reality, like covering up one half of our binoculars. Furthermore, the insistence on maximal analytic thinking is nothing more than a recent product of cultural evolution. For most of history, human cognition was more balanced. So, what changed? Analytic thinking became dominant not because it's more attuned to the truth or because it's more beneficial for humanity. Analytic extremism became dominant because of what we can call cognitive colonialism. To understand how this happened, consider society A, that is analytic dominant, versus society B, that is intuitive dominant. Over time, both societies experience technological and economic growth, but society A experiences this faster. This allows society A to dominate society B. Society A then imposes analytic thinking on its newly acquired subjects by establishing an analytic focused school system. In this way, analytic thinking spreads and dominates more and more societies until it dominates the entire globe. The societies with the most extreme emphasis on analytic thinking win out. That's modern history in a nutshell. Researchers like Joseph Heinrich have explained this history in books like The Secret of Our Success. Now, the fact that analytic thinking can accelerate technology and growth, that sounds like a great thing. But the big question is, just because analytic thinking excels at producing technology, does that mean that maximizing it is better suited to determine truth? I'm not.
So this so what the atheists will want to say is that we want a society with more analytic thinking. And why is that? Because analytic thinking is just more compelling. And the point that I'm making is that, well, analytic thinking, when it's taken to the extreme, actually distorts reality. It takes you away from reality. You get less knowledgeable about the world that you live in when you have a purely analytic way of thinking. Because when you have this kind of extreme analytic thinking, you doubt all your intuitions. You have to doubt the external world. You have to doubt your memories. You have to doubt morality. You have to doubt arithmetic. You like Aaron Ra in Jake's debate. Aaron Ra was doubting that 2 + 2 = 4. So you are becoming more and more unhinged from reality because it's easy to say, I doubt everything. I doubt everything. Nothing that you tell me, I will not doubt. Or everything that you tell me, I'm going to doubt. Like that's the extreme analytic mentality. That kind of person is unhinged. That kind of person is unhinged and is out of touch with the reality that the rest of us experience. So how could such a mind be taken as exemplary or as a model of what is truth on the question of God or religion or anything else? Why should we take that psychology as the standard? And the point that these atheists will not acknowledge and fail to appreciate is that the mentality of analysis, why people are more analytic today, is not because analytic thinking is more in tune with reality. Analytic thinking is just better at producing the kinds of weapons that lead to military domination. It creates technology that leads to economic growth that allows your country or your society to dominate others. That's a fact. And so if you have this kind of cultural evolution understanding of societies dominating each other, then the society that has more analytic thinking will beat societies that have less analytic thinking, because the ones that have more analytic thinking are going to have the better weapons. They're going to have the more money to have weapons to fight than the more intuitive societies. So this will just create a situation where societies are battling over time, and then the societies that come out on top after 100 years, 200 years, 300 years are the ones that are the most analytic. The ones that are the most analytic and are the ones that are most skeptical. And this is continuing to this day. The societies that are most atheistic, like look at China, for example. China is extremely atheistic society, um, and they have this active war against religion. Their GDP continues to rise. The amount of technology that they have is increasing. And you can go back to the R and Ra debate to look at the social implications of atheism, because if you don't really believe in certain kinds of intuitive truths like the sanctity of the human body, you'll be willing to do genetic experiments on the human body and create these designer babies, or try to genetically engineer super soldiers and do those kinds of experiments on children. And you'll have less of a hesitation, or a kind of uh, avoidance or aversion to doing that kind of experimental work, because you're less intuitive, you're more analytical. You're more analytical, that makes you, into this kind of psychopath. But if you have a whole society like that, then your technology, you're going to develop all kinds of new genetic engineering methodologies. Your society will advance from a purely technological perspective. Like, there's less holding you back from doing that kind of thing that normal people find disturbing and immoral, objectionable. Like, don't experiment on babies. Don't do these genetic experiments. You are changing the creation of Allah. You're changing the creation of God. For Christians, man was made in the image of God, and you are trying to distort that. So Christians are also, like traditional Christians, are very opposed to this type of genetic engineering. But if you have a more atheistic society, they're more open to it. They don't have those same intuitions because they're more analytical. So the Chinese, they create these super soldiers, they create these super weapons, and they're able to overtake America, or the more religious societies that were not willing to experiment in that kind of way. So this is how this you can call it cultural evolution. We're not talking about Darwinism. We're talking about cultural evolution over time. Those societies that have more analytic ability will develop more technologies.